So let's take a moment to come into ourselves and relax. And you can do that by settling into your seat. You can lie down if you prefer. And you can just allow the breath to breathe itself. Coming into the quiet center, the stately calm within. I love those phrases in A Course in Miracles, that there's a reality to us, the quiet center, the stately calm within. And that's really our true self. Allowing the breath to be pleasurable, to have a feeling of its rhythm and flow through your body. The breath is life energy, and it doesn't think, it just flows. You could think of it as a caress or as a dance within you. Yeah, just coming into the present moment, which for the time we're together is the holy instant, our willingness to step out of time into timelessness. Our willingness to step out of time, out of the horizontal timeline, into timelessness. We're going vertical. I suggested that we read lesson 185 today, I Want the Peace of God, because of its opening lines, which says, "To say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything." And that's so meaningful, especially at the beginning of a year, whether you're starting the workbook practice or not. Just this feeling of, am I getting it? Am I really practicing forgiveness? What is forgiveness? Just getting down to the fundamentals, the very basics of, why am I doing this course? What am I doing anyway? And lesson 185, I Want the Peace of God, starts to really explain how we might be doing spiritual bypass and how to deal with that, how to broaden and deepen our connection with our teacher, Jesus, and his Holy Spirit, which is our Holy Spirit too. And remember that the introduction to the workbook says that The first section up to lesson 221 of the workbook is about undoing the way we see now. And the Course says somewhere that the Holy Spirit's task is to undo what the ego has made. Forgiveness is forgiving every belief, interpretation, opinion, conditioning, everything to the Holy Spirit, which is another way of saying undoing our belief in separation. Gloria Wapnick, Ken Wapnick's wife, once said something to the effect that A Course in Miracles was just a big eraser on a blackboard, just erasing everything. And it takes willingness to allow ourselves to be entirely erased. And it also takes gaining awareness of how we block the erasure process. So the first section of the workbook is undoing the way we see now. And the second is the acquisition of true perception. Another way of putting that is the ability to really connect with the Holy Spirit, to trust that the Holy Spirit is our inner teacher, our intuition, our inner guidance, that we're developing that trust. The manual of the Course talks about the development of trust. And that's the bottom line. Are we able to relax enough that we become aware of how we are not relaxed so that we can further relax? And that willingness to relax is cultivating trust. Trust that we can exhale. Trust that we can lean back. Trust that we can let go. Trust that there is a higher truth than our human existence and our personal story. Trust that we can be the light of the world and accept a healing from spirit and offer that healing. If we allow ourselves to feel our compassion for all of the cruelty and horrors and pain in this world throughout humanity and all the creatures, and we'd like to do something about that, relaxing and opening to what is, allowing felt sense, and more dropping personal identity with that felt sensing. That's the way to contact our inner light and ignite that spark so that it streams from us. And that is healing the mind, healing humanity, healing everything. Lesson 185 is pretty long. It's 14 paragraphs. Readers, nice and slow. If you need to reread something, feel free. If you stumble, let yourself feel like God is kissing you on the cheek. And listeners, just lean back and let the underlying light language of A Course in Miracles envelop you. Just relax. Don't try to make sense of anything. You don't have to hear the words. We're going to go back and reread. So just marinate. Lesson 185. I want the peace of God.
To say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. No one can mean these words and not be healed. He cannot play with dreams nor think he is himself a dream. He cannot make a hell and think it real. He wants the peace of God, and it is given him. For that is all he wants, and that is all he will receive. Many have said these words, but few indeed have meant them. You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few they are. The world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want.
Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two can share the same intent. To each, the hero of the dream is different, the outcome wanted not the same for both. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form. Yet compromise alone a dream can bring. Sometimes it takes the form of union, but only the form. The meaning must escape the dream, for compromising is the goal of dreaming. Minds cannot unite in dreams, they merely bargain. And what bargain can give them the peace of God? Illusions come to take God's place. And what God means is lost to sleeping minds intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss.
You mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one means these words who wants illusions, and who therefore seeks the meaning which will bring illusions. He has looked on them and found them wanting. Now he seeks to go beyond them, recognizing that another dream would offer nothing more than all the others. Dreams are one to him, and he has learned their only difference is one of form, for one will bring the same despair and misery as the rest. The mind, which means that all it wants is peace, must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given. In a form, each mind that seeks for it in honesty can understand. Whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake it if his asking is sincere. If he asks without sincerity, there is no form in which the lesson will meet with acceptance and be truly learned.
Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing we really mean the words we say. We want the peace of God. This is no idle wish. These words do not request another dream be given us. They do not ask for compromise, nor try to make another bargain in the hope that there may yet be one that can succeed where all the rest have failed. To mean these words acknowledges illusions are in vain. Requesting the eternal in the place of shifting dreams which seem to change in what they offer, but are one in nothingness. Today, devote your practice periods to careful searching of your mind to find the dreams you cherish still. What do you ask for in your heart? Forget the words you use in making your requests. Consider but what you believe will comfort you and bring you happiness. But be you not dismayed by lingering illusions, for their form is not what matters now. Let not some dreams be more acceptable, reserving shame and secrecy for others. They are one. And being one question should be asked of all of them. Is this what I would have in place of heaven and the peace of God?
This is the choice you make. Be not deceived that it is otherwise. No compromise is possible in this. You choose God's peace if you have asked for dreams, and dreams will come as you requested them. Yet will God's peace come just as certainly and to remain with you forever. It will not be gone with every twist and turning of the road to reappear unrecognized in forms which shift and change with every step you take. You want the peace of God, and so do all who seem to seek for dreams. For them as well as for yourself, you ask but this when you make this request with deep sincerity. For thus you reach to what they really want and join your own intent with what they seek above all things, perhaps unknown to them, but sure to you. You have been weak at times, uncertain in your purpose, and unsure of what you wanted, where to look for it, and where to turn for help in the attempt. Help has been given you, and would you not avail yourself of it by sharing it?
No one who truly seeks the peace of God can fail to find it, for he merely asks that he deceive himself no longer by denying to himself what is God's will. Who can remain unsatisfied who asks for what he does already? Who could be unanswered who requests an answer which is his to give? The peace of God is yours. For you was peace created, given you by its creator, and established as his own eternal gift. How can you fail when you but ask for what he wills for you? And how could your request be limited to you alone? No gift of God can be unshared. It is this attribute that sets the gifts of God apart from every dream that has ever seemed to take the place of truth.
No one can lose, and everyone must gain, deceived by anyone. God gives but to unite. To take away is meaningless to him. And when it is as meaningless to you, you can be sure you share one will with him and he with you. And you will also know you share one will with all your brothers, whose intent is yours. It is this one intent we seek today, uniting our desires with the need of every heart, the call of every mind, the hope that lies beyond despair, the love attack would hide, the brotherhood that hate has sought to sever, but which still remains as God created it. With help like this beside us, can we fail today as we request the peace of God be given us?
That was beautiful. Weaving the fabric of love, readers and listeners. Just sitting calmly in the beautiful aftermath of the reading. Allowing ourselves to tune in to the Holy Spirit and feel the force and the power of that signal, that loving signal. Let's spotlight Jesus, just reminding us that Jesus was a man who connected with his inner light and discovered that's what he is, and is here to tell us that's what we are. Here it is, right here. I've been saying that the light is a symbol, a metaphor that runs through the course from cover to cover. I'm coming to the point where it's not just a metaphor, it's just that light as we experience it as humans comes from sunlight and stars, moonlight, and this light is before form. It's luminous. It's an illuminating something beyond words that we can relax into, that we can know we are. Chaz and I were talking right before class about walking into any common situation, a store, any place, and being willing to be the light of the world in that situation. Department of Motor Vehicles, I am here to shine. I thought I was here to renew my registration. And everybody is so annoying and the lines are so long. But wait. I can have a shift in perception. I can remember the course. I can at least request to be the light of the world, to know myself as that in this situation and enjoy the delicious outcome of suddenly having no needs and having the generosity of heart to just give, because that giving results in receiving. It's nourishing. And we don't have to know how. All we need to do is ask. Make a request to recognize what we already are in any given moment. We can start fresh in the middle of bickering. Yeah. Oh, my beautiful cat Paloma, who is very private, just walked over here. And I think that's a real testament to how peaceful everything is right now. The whole vibe is feeling safe to her. I'll respect her privacy and I won't shine the camera at her, but I wish you could see her. Okay, so let's break it down. Let's read this and see what happens. In A Course in Miracles, Jesus tells us purpose is everything. First, he helps us understand that we've been working off of an unconscious purpose. We've been reinforcing the belief that we've separated from God. And that's the ego's purpose, to keep that belief going. And this lesson, the purpose of I want the peace of God, is to reconnect with the truth, to say, I'm not interested in that default purpose that up until recently I've been completely unaware of, unconscious of, because I have deliberately made myself unconscious in order to keep this game of separation going, this idea going that is not a truth and it's not reality, but it is very vivid and convincing. At least it seems so while we're in it. I mentioned I've been watching a lot of near-death experiences on YouTube, and very common experience that they report is the colors were so vivid. They were colors that we never see here. The fragrances, the aromas were so delicious. They were beyond anything that we've ever smelled here, the flowers. So even here, when the world looks beautiful, it's not nearly as alive and beautiful as is possible. The way that ego has constructed the human brain and sensory perceptors is very limited, very limited. And of course, certain animals see in the dark and we can't, or smell things that we don't. We needed to put a topical medication on our cats. And after we did it, one of the cats just hated it so much that now if we open the tube on the other side of the house, he goes running. He can smell it. So we want the peace of God. That's why we're gathered here. And when we say want, we mean desire. We mean that we're actively requesting and desiring the peace of God. We're not using the word want as in wanting or being deprived of. Although you could read it that way and say, unfortunately, we've been in a state of not having the peace of God, and we are now ready to have that shift in perception where we do live with and from the peace of God. To say these words is nothing. So to give them lip service, to start to pay attention to how when we say things, maybe it is just lip service, maybe it's just words, maybe we're not really connected, maybe we're not really heartfelt, and maybe we want to be, but how? How do we actually get connected? But to mean these words, I want the peace of God, is everything. So try it for yourself right now. Say it aloud or say it in your mind. Just see if you can drop down into your heart and find a willingness and the support here of connecting. And if it doesn't feel right, then let yourself be honest with yourself and say, I'm not feeling it. And then let's meet you where you're at and find out more about that since you are here. So just to yourselves, I want the peace of God. So just make a note of how that went for you. And maybe you'll have a question or a comment and we can come back to it. If you could but mean these words for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness. Memory of God entirely restored. The resurrection of all creation fully recognized, fully reknown. It's so, so powerful to take that in, that if we can mean that we truly desire the peace of God above all else, heaven, that state of mind, the kingdom of heaven, comes back to full awareness. And we know ourselves as awareness, not as the person. Memory of God is entirely restored. Resurrection of all creation fully recognized. So we're now knowing ourselves outside of personal identity. We're restored to an awakeness that is beyond our current comprehension, though there's a recognition where we just feel into it and something says yes, yes inside. So that's profound and worth, just going so slow and sitting with. And it's a motivator too. It really helps us wonder, if I'm not in this state, this heavenly, restored, resurrected state, then I must be resisting this state. And how can I stop doing that? How am I doing that? So we'll find out. Vic, do you have something to say?
Yeah, this is too vague for me. I need previews. It's like, yay, you're going to be in heaven and God is. What is that? Do I want it? How do I know I want it? I'm doing okay here. Why would I give this up for a pig and a poke, basically? So
that is those thoughts, that attitude is simply telling you, I'm not ready for the peace of God. And for some reason, you keep showing up, so that there is something.
Oh, yes.
There is something in you that does say yes to this. That's all.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is, can I get some previews so that I know what I'm buying here, What am I saying yes to?
Recognize that question as deceptive, as an ego question. It is a statement disguised as a question. And it's perfect that you bring it up, because it's possible that it will help others. That when you say what I need, right away, that's a telltale sign that the ego is speaking. So if you'd like to practice the course with that statement, you would go, that's an ego statement. Okay. And you don't have to have a problem with it. It's just being able to discern ego statements. Because the more we recognize them, the more that we can ignore them or just let them go by. We're not fighting ego statements.
I'm
We are,
embracing them.
if you're embracing them, which I have seen you do for what, 13 years?
Right.
um, if you're embracing them and yet you want to study the course, then just acknowledge to yourself the ambivalence. That's all. To
I,
be
you
able to
know,
be honest with yourself. That's what's important. There's ambivalence here. I want examples, I want proof, I want motivation, and none of that can be the real me. That's all.
I don't know. I think when I read it the first time, it offered proof. It said you shouldn't be accepting anything without proof.
You think it says that somewhere in A Course in Miracles?
Yeah.
There's a line in the Course that I think comes from the Bible that says, those who believe without seeing are the blessed, or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's not me.
That's the opposite of the kind of
Yes,
proof you're talking about.
exactly.
Can we leave it there for now?
Sure, why not?
Okay, it's just for all of us to see. It's more important to be honest with ourselves about where we're at and then have a laugh about it. That's a good sign than it is to try to change anything. No, just discernment, acknowledgement. That's what's so important. And then you're just pacing yourself. You're just finding out. Oh, Odds, that's great. She pulled up the quote. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. It's a famous biblical beatitude, and Jesus quotes it in the Course.
Mm.
Yeah. Erica, would you like to comment or question?
A little bit of both. And I have so much that's been going through my mind through this, but I'm try to articulate it because my articulation is not the best. But with what Vicky, is that her name or Vic? I'm not sure, was saying, I had a similar reaction, and it's not even that in my mind or in my heart I don't feel like I want it. It's that there's a part of me that doesn't know what it is. Like I think because I get so distracted with everything and I just want not like I just want to give it all up. Like I just don't I feel like I have so much going on all the time that I just want like, and there's a difference between wanting oblivion and wanting a distraction or wanting the peace of God. And that's where my mind starts to try to figure out like what is it that I'm really wanting? Is it oblivion or is it the peace of God? Because they're different things. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm a drug addict because that kind of makes you, in my mind, when I think of that, I think of a drug addict. And that's not it. But there's things that I do to try to take my mind off of any stresses that I may be having in my life. It may be reading A Course in Miracles. It may be reading a random romance novel just to like not have to think about anything. And that's how I am. And so
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, like, is this a way for me to distract myself from the things that are in front of me and that I'm not owning up to having this peace? Because I don't think the peace of God involves ignoring things, but then there's also this line where you're being carried by God, and that's what to me the peace involves that because whenever I'm in a place where I just am like Jesus hold me and I feel like I'm being carried by God, I feel like I'm getting the peace of God in that moment. And
Yeah.
and so I think it's a little bit different and I had highlighted a part in this, and I'm going to say it for her as well and for myself. And it's some of what I read. And it says, consider what you believe will bring you comfort and bring you happiness. So it's not about trying to figure out what God is, what it's going to be like. It's what do you think it is? Like what is it that you think is going to make you happy? What is it that you think is going to bring you the peace? Because whatever that thing is, if it's not something that's being shared, if it's something that's special, if it's something that's separated off and that only you're allowed to get and that you're now allowed to kind of have when other people don't or something, it's definitely not something that God would have you have, and it's not something that is from God. But I mean, it's just saying, so shame and secrecy, and that's what I say, they are one, and being one, the question asked, is this what you would have in place of God and heaven? Because you know that's not heaven when it's a separate little thing. If it involves that, but if it involves everyone and that's what's bringing you peace, and you're starting to align your will with God's will. In my mind, that's how I look at it when I
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
for me it's not even that. It's like I'm just so distracted that I feel like I'm too stressed to like I don't want to. There's just so many things on my plate that I say I'm going to do, and then I'm like, do I have to do all this stuff now? Well, let me just read this book, or let me just,
Right,
So,
right.
okay.
You know, Erica, you're raising some really good things that apply to all of us at one time or another. And you started off by saying, are you, I'm going to put it the Eckhart Tolle way. He talks about, are we rising above thought or are we sinking beneath thought? So you use the word oblivion. The Course would say, are we replacing God with an idol? And, if you need to watch TV or have a cup of tea, is that an idol? Or is that perfectly okay? And everything can be done with the ego or with the Holy Spirit. Everything. Reading A Course in Miracles could be done with the ego or the Holy Spirit. I feel that compassion for yourself, that you're busy and you have a very busy life and you have kids and that you need some rest is where you could reconnect with spirit inside. It's really just about connecting with spirit, just the willingness to do that and not know how. We don't have to know how. We just need to know, everything's getting too fast, too busy, too demanding, and I'd like to switch gears. I'm running on ego right now. I just want to switch gears. I don't even know how to do that, but I do know from my course study that I can discern that that must all be ego and say, give me some help, Holy Spirit. It's very conversational. You can go into a conversation with the Holy Spirit. Is that good for now, Erica?
Yes. Sorry. I have see where are you? Are you you're not gonna he doesn't want to be on camera, but he's coming bugging me when I'm talking.
But he's so cute. We love
He,
seeing him.
he
Hi.
makes me want to I love having them, but they are sometimes a lot work. But it's just, it is what it is. So you
Well,
do
it's
need
the
to rest.
world of duality. You're bound to feel both ways about everything. Everything, even your kids, no doubt about it. Even yourself. Everybody has mixed feelings about themselves. Rafi.
Yeah, just seeing him reminded me. I mean, my son when he was that age. Wow, what a moment! Thank you. A few things. A thing about taking everything on faith or trust or belief, and when a person can't do that, we were always instructed that prove it to yourself. You take it for checking. If you can prove it to yourself, then you don't need anybody else to tell you, believe this, don't believe that, have faith in this, trust that. You've already proven it. You know that you know that.
Rafi, can you use I talk and simply tell us from your experience how
Yeah,
that's worked
okay,
for
sure.
you?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I have been instructed and use it all the time that when the thing comes up, can I trust this? Can I just believe in this without knowing whether I want to? If I take it and I take it and for checking, if I prove it to myself, then I don't need any outside influences whatsoever.
What is the proof, Rafi? Can you give us an example of how that happened for you?
Yes. One example is seeing the perfection where the seeming imperfection seems to be. If I get to the point where I can prove to myself that what I'm looking at is the perfection, and that it's egoless, and that it has always been, is uncaused. When I get to that, then nothing anybody else can say or anything that else happens can disturb it because I've proven it to myself. I've seen that, yes, there is the perfection right there. The other thing is about putting peace first and how the value of that. In the Sedona method and the release technique, there are 6 steps. The first step is I must want imperturbability, which is, of course, the peace that surpasses all understanding. I must want imperturbability more than I want approval, more than I want control, more than I want safety, security, survival. The second step is I decide to release and be imperturbable. Yes.
I would say right now we're on the first step. I want imperturbability. And the question here in this lesson is, do I? Do I really want imperturbability? And
If
that's a deep, deep question. You can say on the surface, I do, and find out, oh, as I go down into deeper levels, I'm finding out I don't. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of imperturbability. Not
and who,
not necessarily you, Rafi. I'm just saying very commonly.
and who is the I that would be afraid of that peace?
Well, then we would have to
Ego
find
I.
out about that.
Right, the ego I, and the ego isn't what we are. So we're listening to something that we aren't, saying, don't do that. And that's where we really have to be. That's where our awareness really has to come in. But if you say, I must want imperturbability more than I want any of that, and then answer with the question, yes, then you're stuck in I've stuck in my determination to proceed, and I decide to release and be imperturbable. Yes, okay. Then I've also cemented in my determination. If there's
The thing there, though, as a course student is, as you just said, who is the I that is determined? Because that is a subtle way that the personal I takes over and says, I'm determined and I'm going to do this course the way Jesus tells me to. And that prevents us from doing the exercise. So that is the subtlety and the depth of how do we let go while choosing again? And this is what, as you say, we all have to feel into for ourselves in order to have an experience that offers proof, you could say, something that we recognize, a click of recognition, an opening of the breath, just something that we recognize as true and real that keeps us in this development of trust, which is letting go of the personal I and leaning back into guidance. And this is for the ego, very threatening process. On the surface, we may all jump up and go, I want the peace of God. And Jesus is saying, you would have had it by now if you really meant it. So let's find out how it's not happening for you.
Well, fortunately, I've done this enough so that I'm at that point where practically, well, nothing really does bother me anymore. I'm at that peace, and for that, the gratitude is overwhelming.
Mm,
Because that realization is unshakable.
mm, mm. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's see what happens in paragraph 2. No one can mean these words, I want the peace of God, and not be healed. So we have to look at ourselves honestly and say, so what's going on? I just said, I want the peace of God. Instant presto, how come I'm not healed? I don't feel that everything is perfect and whole and healed. I'm just speaking for myself now. You can find out for yourself exactly what's going on for you. And then Jesus says, no one can mean these words and not be healed. He cannot play with dreams, nor think he is himself a dream, if he means these words. And he's saying you. So sometimes I'll change the pronoun or we. So if we really meant, I want the peace of God, we could not play with dreams, nor think we were a dream figure. It would all just evaporate just like that. That's the proof that we're not truly, sincerely meaning, I want the peace of God. And Jesus is not criticizing us. He's here to support us in finding out, oh, this is why, this is how I've been stuck. So then he says, if you mean these words, you cannot make a hell and think it real. You would just be completely at peace. We would see the dream differently right before poof, we're no longer the dreamer of the dream. No one can mean, I want the peace of God and make a hell and think it real, because we want the peace of God and the peace of God is given us. That's what happens when we really want the peace of God. We truly desire it and it is given us. God isn't making us pass a test. We're doing that. We're putting up obstacles. We're making up beliefs that are in the way of the immediacy of what is. The immediacy of what is the peace of God. All throughout the course, Jesus is asking us to go deeper and deeper with honesty, which he says really equals wholeness and innocence. That's what honesty is. We have to see how we're not being honest. We have to look at our fears. And by look, it can just mean feel like, oh, there's an uneasiness in the belly right now. And I can tell you truthfully, right now, there is a little uneasiness in this belly right here. And then there's a sensation of something rising. And interestingly, it's not good. The rising that I'm feeling right now, it feels sort of dark. Got a kind of dark gray color to it. And it's kind of the shape of a pencil and it's sort of moving up. So it feels a bit icky. And I am perfectly willing to notice that and to share it with you, not to gross you out, simply to say, I'm at the point of, let's go transparent. Let's just look together. We all have the same ego ingredients until we stop believing in them. In one way or another, we all have it. So, it's coming up. Okay, Jesus, it's coming up. I see it. I'm willing to release it. I'm willing to give it to you. I'm at the point in my life where I don't need the whole story behind it. At some points, that's really necessary, but I'm not hooked into it. I'm just like, here it is, and I'm giving it over. I don't even have an expectation. That's important. I'm not like, give me relief. No, it's just noticed. And it is actually subsiding, the sensation. So that makes sense. I gave it over and it's subsiding. It makes sense. There's another one behind it. It could be good. It could be bad. All of this process is really noticing and becoming less charged up and triggered about what we're noticing and more neutrally willing to notice, notice, notice. That's very much the forgiveness practice of just giving over. Okay. So when we want the peace of God, it is given us, for that is all we want, and that is all we will receive. Many have said these words, I want the peace of God, but few indeed have meant them. We know this because we see what's going on all around us. We see the state of the world. We see how we can't get along in our own family, no less get along as a village, a city, a region, a country, come on, it's everywhere. So let's be honest about it. Not to get depressed, not to be self-critical, to see there's another way. There's another way. Thank God. Many have said these words, I want the peace of God, but few indeed have meant them. And for us to be honest with ourselves and go, I guess I'm one of those. Because 2 minutes ago, I was upset about whatever. You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few they are. The world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want. The paradox there is, if any two agreed, they would become one. There would be no two. And this might be a way that Jesus can mix level 1 and level 2 within a sentence. And that can be confusing to us as readers of the Course, is that he might suddenly be taking us to level 1 in A Course in Miracles is the God mind. It's perfection, it's wholeness, it's what is, and there's nothing else. It's truth, not illusion. It's reality with a capital R. Should any two agree on these words, it's that they're the only thing they want would be the same to me as in God mind, we're told there's God, there's God's creation, and then the creation creates like God does. However, once created, it's all one. There's no differentiation in God mind. It's undifferentiated oneness. So it's explained in words as if God creates and there's a creation and that's other than God, but it's all the same. That's what happens with these two. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two can share the same intent. I take this to mean that Jesus is saying when we restore communication with our communication link, the Holy Spirit, then two minds become one. But on the level of the world, two minds can't join because we're dream figures. And the reason, the purpose of dream figures is to remain separate. So how can we join? We can't. And we don't really have to understand this. We don't have to go crazy understanding it. It's not understandable, and that's good. It's more the development of trust, just relaxing into it, relaxing into it. The holy relationship is with the inner remembering of God, the memory of God within, which is also the spark within, which restores communication. We go vertical and know ourselves as other than the individual, or in the process of awakening as more than just the person. Something just keeps opening up. We become much less judgmental, much less comparing, much less self-critical. Don.
The first thing is just to start at the end where you said we couldn't ever join. It seems to me in my experience that there can be a momentary joining. And, like I've had before in the midst of some rancorous interaction, I've had the inspiration to forgive. Like it just came to me. And I realized when it came to me that I really didn't want to. But then I surrendered to it. I said, okay. In other words, I really did hear, in quotes, an invitation. And begrudgingly, I said, finally, I said, okay. And as soon as I said, okay, the rancor in my own body and mind disappeared. But more importantly, or as importantly, the individual with whom had rancor changed their tune, to be harmonious. And it was just this momentary letting go of our fixation on our differences and our argument. And then there it was. So, how does that sit with what you just said? We could never really, given that we're dream figures, we could never really join.
I love your example. And I'm pretty sure most of us have experienced that. I certainly have. I'm going to use energy. What happens is that you were willing to join with spirit, even though it was a bit begrudging. I've felt that way many times too. And then luckily you shifted in the direction of spirit and something shifted for you. I'm just going to say energetically, your shift affected your interaction with somebody else. And on the level of the world, there is somebody else. It's just that ultimately there's only what's happening in this mind. So we're actually joining with spirit. That changes our mind. That changes our attitude and energetic field. And the other person, that may be contagious. Some people are open enough, willing enough, that there is
Okay,
apparently
okay.
that shift. It's a
Yeah.
little hard to explain, but I think you did it really well.
Well, let me just then add a little bit to the whole thing. When that occurred, my back actually was to the other person. So that person couldn't even see the expression on my face. In fact, I don't even think they were looking at me. It's one of those arguments where you're talking into the world, but you're not really even directing it, visually to the. So the energetic thing is really important, and I would
Mhm.
suggest that that energy being of God. Now that's God energy, right? So that's God energy, and that same God energy surrounds is in that other person, and that there was a joining of God energy, and it probably neither of us. Well, I could have probably talked about it, but I don't think she was. She just changed. It's kind of like suddenly she was in a warm bath of water without even really realizing it had changed.
Yeah, I
That's
think
pretty.
you could call it God energy or love, is the same love energy, God
Yeah, yeah,
energy.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Okay, thanks, Amy. Thank you.
yeah. Great question. Did that make sense to everybody? It's so applicable, you know? Yeah. Okay. You see how rich this lesson is? It's just, Scott often says when something just becomes too much, he goes, it's like fudge. You can only eat a little bit. It's like fudge, like I can't take anymore. That's how this lesson feels like we got to take a break. Oh my goodness. Let's see where we are. Should we take a break? Should we play the song, the Netta Boyne song? Let's do it, guys. Let's just relax our minds and absorb a beautiful song with the same title as this lesson, and then we'll come back to it.
To me, you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one mean these words. Who wants illusions? There would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. The peace of God is yours, for it was given by Him. No one who truly seeks can feel the fighting. That is all He wants, and that is all He will receive. Many have said these words, but few have meant them. I want the peace of God, 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 I want the peace of God. I want the peace of God, 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 I want the peace of God. No one can mean these words and not be healed. He cannot play with dreams, nor think he's himself a dream. He cannot make a hell and think it's real. He wants the peace of God, and it's given him. The peace of God is yours, for it was given by Him. No one who truly seeks can feel the fighting. That is all He wants, that is all He will receive. Many have said these words, but few have meant them. I want the peace of God, 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 I want the peace of God. I want the peace of God, 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 I want the peace of God,
was great. Yeah. Is Eric still with us? Eric, we finally listened to Netta Boyne. Not exactly the way you wanted to, but still. Okay. And, I also like to say that we don't have to understand every word and every sentence in A Course in Miracles. We don't have to. Don't worry about it. Just keep reading. We're getting the heart of the message, and the message is loving, and the message is encouraging, and the message is we are one, and we are loved, and we are love itself. We don't have to understand every word. And Bill Thetford, Helen's partner in scribing the course, he typed everything up. There's a story that goes that he said if two course students are arguing over something that is said in the course, to just tear out that page and throw it away. I mean, come on. What's more powerful, to win the argument or to say, I want the peace of God and throw the book out and really mean it? I want the peace of God and really mean it. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two can share the same intent because the purpose of dreams is separation. To each, the hero of the dream is different because we all have a different body. The outcome wanted, not the same for both. We're not trying to all share and be generous in the dream. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form. Right? Empires rise and fall. The people that we put on pedestals, we love to trash them when they come back down. Yet compromise alone a dream can bring. Some people have had trouble with that sentence. It means dreams only bring compromise. Dreams don't bring wholeness, only compromise. And compromise is never really satisfying. They say it doesn't work, really. Compromising in marriages doesn't really work because there's always a little underlying resentment about the compromise. Nobody really got what they wanted. Sometimes compromise takes the form of union, but only the form, not the real feeling below it. The meaning must escape the dream, for compromising is the goal of dreaming. Minds cannot unite in dreams. They merely bargain. They merely handle. And what bargain can give them the peace of God? The peace of God is our inheritance. The peace of God is our legacy. We don't have to earn it. We are it. It's what we're born of and made of. Illusions come to take God's place. And what God means is lost to sleeping minds intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss. So this takes us back to the lessons of the Holy Spirit: to give all to all, to have peace, teach peace, to have peace, something like that. I'm close. Yeah. It's an absolute, a complete giving. Annette, do you want to say something?
When I read this line also, I want the peace of God. It's just like an emptiness. It's just, I don't know that I know what that is when I read that. So, in that line that you just read about dreams, where you have to renounce all dreams, if you renounce all dreams, then there's that emptiness. What is there if we don't have dreams? What is that to replace the dreams? The peace of God. So what is that? So this is our mind that's trying to figure it out, that's trying to hold on to what this could possibly be. But if we are already God, sort of like that analogy are saying, what is. So we're
Wait, you
already.
dropped out. You dropped out for a moment, Annette. I think it's because you moved a little away from the computer.
Oh,
Just that
sorry.
last sentence.
about the fish being in, they don't know that we're already the peace of God.
Mhm.
We don't know it, can't see it or feel it because we already are it. But when you that to of God is to renounce all dreams, all we seem to have in this existence, physical form, we dreams so that we can. So what are you creating? Renounce all dreams.
Is that the
And
question?
yeah, yeah. But is there no more creation in the peace of God as the ultimate creator, and nothing else needs to be created anymore? Like you don't need anything. So state of emptiness, which is everything. You see, who we are as humans, it doesn't feel like that's a good thing. It could feel like, what is that? Even though
Yeah.
when I read those words, I do want that peace. I want because it does remove all obstacles for me. It's such a it's strange contrast. This whole experience is because of to
Because of what?
contrast. We wanted to experience
Mhm.
as good and bad, light and dark. I mean, that's why we're here, because we wanted to experience this contrast. So that this, to me, I want the peace of God is to remove the contrast and to know what it's like to be the contrast. I That's my feeling. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or a confusing thing for us to try to grasp that sense. I don't know. I just, Darren, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I feel like that's very genuine report that a lot of us can relate to. Absolutely. And then what's happening is this development of trust where I'm seeing because of what Jesus is telling me here that what we feel is a creation is a miscreation, and that what I am is capable of so, so much more. So that what seems precious and treasured to me here, my life, my relationships, my things, my achievements, I begin to realize what I am has nothing to do with any of that. And what ego says is emptiness is actually this huge spaciousness, which is full of beauty and peace and joy and love. And these days, there's so many awakening people and near-death experiencers talking about higher dimensions or deeper dimensions, that there's more information about the process. So now I'm understanding that being a no self, not being identified as Amy anymore, doesn't mean that I'm finished with the dream. The dream is continuing and it is being seen as the one mind, the dreamer of the dream. So there's a harmony and a selflessness, even though individual life situations are occurring and need to be addressed. It's just a completely different point of view. And I might compare it to the painting, of the profile of two faces and the vase in the center. The optical illusion painting, where for a while we're looking at it and we're seeing the two profiles, but then all of a sudden it flips and we're seeing the vase. So that's all that's happening. When we can truly want the peace of God, there's a process of awakening that occurs. And you might say the first step is really starting to get the hang of there's no me here. I have been convinced that there's a me with a valuable life and valuable people in it that I need to love and protect. And there's no me here. And in this moment, everybody, let's just look for me. You might want to close your eyes to do it. If we go inside our own body and our own sense of self and try to locate me, now, if the eyes are open, typically people say, well, I'm behind my eyes because I'm seeing through the eyes. And what I'm seeing is a little different than what you're seeing. We're in different locations. But even if we were side by side, my perspective would be slightly different than yours. I'm behind my eyes. But let's say you go blind in the next second. Where are you? Now you're blind. Where are you? So just look for yourself. It's not exactly the same for everybody. You might feel a pain. I have a shooting pain in my back. Oh, well, I guess I'm in my back in that shooting pain because that's where I'm having a felt experience. But what if we put like numbing cream on the pain? Oh, well, I must be in my brain because my brain is the thing that's processing the pain. But but can you find a me in the brain? If a brain surgeon cuts your brain open, is he going to pop me out? We cannot locate the me. When we start to really look at that, if you talk about the word proof, you start to find that you just can't locate a me. And that might be scary. It might be exciting, a little thrilling. It might be disorienting, but it certainly starts to open up that what was that sentence you read, Annette? It's such an important sentence.
To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams?
Yes, that's the sentence. To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams, all ego dreams. And ego dreams, the ego is telling us, you'll have nothing without these dreams. And Jesus is saying, just trust me. Just trust me. And I'm saying, how do we do that? Well, I often reference the body. We do that by relaxing and finding the breath and noticing that the breath comes and goes. We can do some breath exercises, but we don't really control the breath. And so if that's our life force, then we haven't instituted that. That's just happening until it stops happening. To renounce all dreams is radical. It means I'm willing to trust that if I place my family in the hands of God, if I place planet Earth in the hands of God, if I place the things that I want most in the hands of God, that I'm going to be happier and more satisfied and true than I've ever been as what I think I am. And that's wild. That's just way beyond our comprehension. So as I was saying to Victoria, what we want to do is the discernment of just starting at first to do the Eastern philosophy practices of neti neti, not this, not that. So we take a thought like, if I renounce all my dreams, I'll be empty, and say, not this. I cannot be this because it's telling me that something will be taken away, and God takes nothing away. It's telling me that emptiness is scary and God doesn't introduce fear into anything. There's no fear. So this can't be a God thought. This can't be God guidance. And we don't have to fight it. We just have to notice, I've been accepting this my whole life. And wait a minute, Jesus is training my mind to notice this cannot be what I am, this thought, because it's fear-based, because it's deprivation-based, and because it's contrast-based, even if I enjoy contrast. Now we can notice, wait, I'm enjoying the contrast, and that's where I'm at. And we can work right from there. Jesus, I'm at the contrast point. I'm liking it. And he will pat us on the back and say, thank you for being honest. You dropped more deeply into yourself and you're being more honest now. You're not ready for the peace of God. Well, I do want the peace of God in the dream. And then Jesus will smile at you and say, that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it says right in the beginning, if you could just do this for an instant, because You can't even do it for an instant.
That's right.
It's
And
like
to find out it's because we're not really willing. And then to find out, why am I not willing? And we start to hit all of these points of, I value this, I value that. And I don't trust you, Jesus. I don't trust you. I might want to trust you, but I don't really trust you. What, I'm
Mhm.
going to jump off this cliff and what?
Yeah.
That's asking too much.
Yeah.
Except I say this with full love, Rafi, except Rafi, who has reached an unshakableness inside himself.
Yeah.
But, we all recognize that for ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
Look at that little thumb. Oh,
It's also scary. It's kind of scary
oh,
because it seems so big. The peace of
it
God
is
seems really
exactly. It
huge.
is scary and
And
it does seem big. I couldn't agree
yeah,
more. Yeah,
unbelievable,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's see. I think we actually finished through paragraph 4, and we definitely want to pick up with that sentence next time, paragraph 5. To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. And we'll take our time with this lesson. And we have a couple of minutes where we could play this song. It's not exactly a song, it's more like a Gregorian chant ish. And it goes into the depths. And I think it's about the Garden of Gethsemane. So from a biblical perspective, it's Jesus having, a dark night of the soul. And that type of belief and fear is what keeps us from truly wanting the peace of God. So that's not the Jesus of A Course in Miracles, but the music is amazing.
Maran ishum shicha Ya Baba Busmalu ma bermini ahakyas Inaha suyan Ulasuyan Aha Ahamre maran ishum shicha aham rebaran ishum shikha. Yaba Bismalu ma bermini aha casa. Inaha siviano.
Did that give you goosebumps? Did you notice those who had your eyes open? That church has no crucifixions. Jesus is not portrayed that way. The Assyrian Eastern Orthodox. Yeah. Okay, darlings. It's just so beautiful to be with you. And I'll be here next Wednesday. Mwah.